this is not about me today. This is about you. So take it personally and understand how your life can impact the lives of other people. I'm going to give 3 stories of 3 boys who have, I would say, impacted my life. So there's boy number 3 that I start with, and I work down to boy number 1. And if we really believe this principle from Romans 5:19, so I think it's always good to start with the Word. This is not a Bible study. I'm not Owen Cooper. I'm not Pastor Owen Cooper, and I'm not a line-by-line guy. I mean, I can do that too, but that's not why I'm here today, all right? So, can somebody just read that? I mean, I know it by heart, but I like to involve people. Who has a nice, like really godly Elizabethan sort of a Alexander Scorby voice? Anybody here? No? You can do that. What's your name?
Andrew.
Andrew. I'm Brad. Nice to meet you. Stand up. Face the crowd.
Great.
Don't make a mistake. All right.
Try my best. For as though the one man's disobedience, the many were made sinners. Through one man's disobedience, the many were made sinners. Even so, through the obedience of the one, the many will be made righteous.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, so by the way, in this verse we have the story of creation and salvation, but we also have the idea embedded in this verse is also that the Lord calls us into a life of obedience. And so a person like Adam impacted our lives. One guy dramatically impacted our lives for the bad, for the negative, but one man, the last Adam, impacted our lives dramatically for salvation. But he didn't just save us so that we could go to heaven. We're saved from judgment. We're saved for a purpose, and we're saved to going to heaven. And Christianity doesn't skip step 2. So Christianity is defined by our life here on earth, knowing Him and making Him known. So, anyhow, we are called to be we're following in the footsteps of Jesus, and as the Father sent Him, so He sends us as well. So my missionary life started in 1996 when I said, "No, Lord." Who knows what doesn't belong in that sentence? No, Lord. Those 2 words are diabolically polar opposites of one another. The first word, no, it doesn't belong next to the word Lord, right? Those are Peter's words that he said to the Lord when he had the vision, right? When he was told to rise and kill and eat. No, Lord! But I said no, but the Lord dismantled all my excuses in a 24-hour period, and I went on my first mission trip in 1996. So that was the beginning. So anything that's happened in my life since then, in 1996, has happened because somehow the Lord helped me to understand, to be wise enough to change my no to a yes. So, and that I did. I had to do it, and that's the bottom line, is that the Lord is calling us to always come back to saying yes. Yes, what do you want to do? What do you want to do through me? How do you want me to change? And this is Christianity. Like John the Baptist said, that he would increase and that I would decrease. That's the Christian life in a nutshell. Every day, how can I decrease for Him, right? So the three stories here. But if we believe that my life is valuable, your life is valuable, and that you are called to impact the lives of other people, to really carry that through to its logical end, you're going to have to extend that to other people. And that their life is valuable, and through their life, they are called to impact you. But if you don't go to people, and if you don't, so the Lord's going to send you to people. He wants you to get involved with people. And if you don't go, you lose. Because something in the exchange of life, there might be something for you that you, in an area of your life, an important area that you need to be changed in. And so we must be changeable always, to be sendable, to be change agents in this lost world that need to be touched by the hand and the love of God. You with me? One of the things that we need is a love for the untouched, people that we're not getting to. Whitewater is filled with these people. And you know this story, and this is when, it's actually in, it says here in Luke 5:12 and 13, there's another example of it. But so the previous story to these verses 1 through 11, is actually much more well known. But this, is, to me, is very insightful because we know 1 through 11, and that's where Peter was told by Jesus to go out and fishing on the Sea of Galilee, right? And he caught this uncountable number of fish, and then at the end of that he falls on his knees and he says, "Get out of my life, Jesus. I don't need this sort of chaos. I'm too unholy." And Jesus calls Peter into relationship with him, and he says, "Follow me, and I will make you a fisher of men." So what's the first thing that Jesus, and so he says yes, he starts following Jesus. Lesson number 1, Christianity number 1, get involved in people you don't want to be around. And so Peter's like, "Oh, right, more miracles, let's go. I want to see the power of God, I want to catch more fish." Again, I'm going to say, if we claim to be born-again Christians, there's no option. This is Christianity, this principle right here. And so Peter said yes, and he followed Jesus, and Jesus led him to a leper, an untouched person. Nobody wants to touch the leper. Who are the untouchables in this city? Who are they? Prostitutes? Are they pimps? Are they government officials with bad reputations? Who is it? Because if you just know who they are and you identify them, you know what your mission field is, or as a church. And so Jesus goes to the leper, and this guy has more faith than Peter and the guys who are following him. And he says, "Lord," and he understands the heart of God, "if you're willing, you can heal me." Now, what's the obvious healing that he needs? Physical healing. Nobody wants to be around him. But if you're out of community, you're only in community with lepers, and nobody else wants to touch you. You're separated from family, from friends, from job. You're very, very hurting. And so Jesus does something very important first. You, me, we are called to this first step. And Jesus said, "I am willing," okay? But he didn't say, "In my name, be healed from leprosy." He didn't. He reached out, and I love this, and he touched him. He touched him. He touched the leper. He touched. This is such a... If I just sit down now, and Hannah gets up and sings again, we win. We have to get this point. There are people that are dying emotionally and in their heart because nobody touches their lives. Whether it's elderly, orphans, so many. Society is filled with these people. And the first lesson number 1 for the apostle is touch the lives of people who are hurting. And he touches them first. In other words, to say, "I'm not afraid of you. And I am willing, and you understand my heart, and be healed." But he healed him emotionally first. And if we will try to connect with people on an emotional level and love them, sometimes in the process too, and what I'm learning is that the Lord, and with healing, it's very deep, and a lot of times the people that we reach out to are actually the ones the Lord uses to bring healing in our lives too. So he's called us to things like that. So boy number 3, in 1996, I went to Romania, and I heard about the street children, hundreds of thousands of kids living on the streets and the sewers, and it was really hard for me to believe it. And so I looked like a total idiot. I went with 2 boxes of Dole bananas into the train station in downtown Bucharest, and chocolate, and I came walking into the train station looking for a few kids, and 200 kids ran at me. It's a true story. 200 kids, like, whoa! And I'm holding 2 big. That's heavy. I went on the with a group down there that we met up with, and I was shocked. And it was a surreal moment. I couldn't believe, what is this? And the kids were a lot of 5, 6 years old, 7-year-old kids sniffing glue. They'd come up to me like they'd be checking me out. "Oh, look at that! He's got money in his sock." Gone. My money was gone that fast because I had a lot of Dole bananas in my hands, and it was all gone, and it was just so shocking. So then after the bananas were gone, the sandwiches were gone, and I'm just shocked by this situation. We were led to the back of the train station, and the big gates opened up, and it was dark back there, and I thought, what's going on? What's our guide leading us to? And we got out our flashlights. It was nighttime, and it was a garbage dump. And all of a sudden, I noticed the garbage starting to move, and children came out of the garbage, from under the garbage. And I just couldn't believe this. How can this be? How can kids be living under the garbage? And then the pimps came out and started cursing at us and throwing things at us and chased us out of there. And I remember the 3 sisters I saw. One sister was 5 years old, one was 3, and another one, I think, 2 years old. And the 5-year-old was the mother. Their mother had died. They were put out into the streets, and the 5-year-old girl was caring for her 2 little sisters, and nobody helped these kids. This is more than sad, and it's more than a Romanian problem. This is a global problem. And one of the reasons a lot of those people never get touched is because we don't go, because we're too content to stay. We need a going mentality every day, and just, Lord, where do you want me to go? Here I am. I'm ready to do whatever you want to do. And so we went out from the back there, and then kids were following us, and then we gradually made our way back to the van. And then I had something happen with the little boy who impacted my life. I only saw him in that moment, and this is why it's so important. I go to try to impact somebody else's life, but you may never see them again. They might be the one who makes the bigger impact on your life if you let them and let the Lord do it. And this boy, not this boy, but he looked a lot like him. He was 8 years old, I could never forget, and he was wearing clothes like, I'm going to say about like what you're wearing, you know. Your clothes on an 8-year-old, that 8-year-old would be drowning in those clothes, and that's how it was. And the buttons were ripped off, and he had been beaten, and he had half of his hair was gone, and what hair was left, there was lice in there. He pulled out his hair trying to get rid of the lice, and there's scabs there, and boys had beaten him up, and he was bleeding, and it was just a pitiful thing. And so he followed us all the way to the van. There are 9 of us in the van. I was the first one into the van. And I got to the back, and I'm watching this whole scene and unfold. And he was like really nice at first, trying to get in the van. He said, "Please help me. I need help. Please help me, everybody." And we couldn't. And so when he realized that, he got underneath the van. He wedged himself under the front of the van. He started pounding on the oil pan on the bottom of the engine, screaming at us, "Please help me, help me, help me." And then the guide went out and pulled him out from under the van, pulled him off to the side, and he was right there next to my window. And then as we pulled away from the boy, he started throwing stones at us with one hand, and the guide was holding him, and then we kind of went a block ahead, and then the guy ran up to us, our guide, jumped in the van, and for 30 minutes as we drove across Bucharest, it was total silence, because we just experienced this. I'm sure things like this happen in Whitewater, by the way. They're there if you go looking for them. And I was praying, kind of talking to myself, "Oh Lord, somebody needs to do something about that." And this little voice says, it's in my mind, I'm thinking it's me, "Can't you do something?" And I'm thinking, what can I do? I don't live here. I don't know hardly anybody. It's such a big problem. And then it was followed by another question, "Can't you do something for my children?" Very personal. My children. Can't you do something? And by the end of that trip, I had made up my mind as I left Romania, and I knew that somehow I had stepped into my higher destiny as a missionary. Because I believe every Christian is a missionary, and I was very active in Wisconsin. He knows this is my friend Kent. He's on our board of directors, and we go way back. I won't even say how many years we go way back. It's kind of scary, getting scary. I came back to the States, and I said, "Okay, Lord, I'm willing to go wherever you want me to go. I'm willing to do whatever you want me to do, and I'm willing to become whatever you want me to become. But I don't know what to do, so show me." And so in those next years, and by 2001, so that was 1996, by 2001, but this little boy impacted my life. He changed, the Lord used him to change the direction of my life. And in 2001, my wife, Nora, she's been here to speak, by the way, and our 5 kids, went over to Romania, and we started a ministry. At first, actually, we built an orphanage in the years between 96 and 2001. We moved over there and we worked in the orphanage, but then in 2003 we started the ministry to Outstretched Hands of Romania, and our team has grown a lot. We have something close to like 50 full-time people now, 50 part-time plus volunteers. So we've grown quite a bit. This is the county where we live. You have Europe there. You have the country of Romania there. That's just another way of showing Romania. We live and serve in this county here, the white spot, and this is that county. And there's 100 villages here in this county that have no known Christian or church, and so we are there for them. I have other stories of how the Lord uses the people that are untouchables and how He uses that to change me, and this is very, very important. These two girls here are prostitutes. As an American missionary, I'm fairly visible in Colorado, and I knew they were prostitutes. They knew I was a pastor, and I was in a restaurant. I mean, because we work with a lot of kids, you know, and actually one of the girls, the Georgiana, had been in our orphanage, so I knew she was out on the streets. There's this girl with her. So I'm in a restaurant, but you need to hear this, because this is you, remember? I'm not talking about me. I'm talking to you. This is us. This is how we are. I'm not afraid to say. And I found myself in the line next to two prostitutes, and they're like, "Hi, boys." I'm with my friend. You know, how would you like to, hey, what are you doing here? Hey, wow, this is really good to see you. How are you doing? And it's a full restaurant, and it was an auto service, so you're getting your food, you're going around. It was my birthday that day, and the missionary I was with was buying me lunch. And so as it happened, when we came around at the cash register, I'm looking at you're two prostitutes right now. So I just look at them, and Denisa says to me, she goes, "Would you boys like to sit with us?" And I'm like, you know, it's amazing how your mind works. Like in 5 seconds, I assessed the whole restaurant and who was there and who was watching and my reputation and the stories that are going to start. I'm just sitting, yes, we would like to sit with you, but you know, we have some things to talk about. And we're going to go down to that other open table. And she says to me, she goes, "Are you ashamed to be seen with us in public?" And I'm like, I lied. And I said, "No, I'm not ashamed to be seen with you. I'm just in escape mode. I'm trying to get out of that moment." And I said, "No, it's not that. We're just really busy." And she nailed it. I was ashamed to be seen with them in public. Why are these seats empty? Why are churches in America? Why is the church in America dying? I'm telling you, the church in the United States is dying, no matter what you think or what you've experienced. Churches are disappearing from the history of the American terrain. You can't believe thousands every year losing more than are being started. There's a solution for that, but anyhow, and I was so ashamed, but then finally I said, I saw them coming down the aisle, and I jumped out and blocked them, and I said, "Here, give me your phone number." I'm telling you, everybody in the restaurant saw me do that. I saw the heads go, whew, like that, but you know, I felt the love of God so strongly in that moment. So we have to, yeah, okay, we need to keep our reputations, but at the same time, we need to find a way to reach the unreached people. So this story and others is propelling me into our ministry, into anti-human trafficking ministry, which is very, very important. 40 countries in Europe, and 40 countries. And 60% of the girls and the women going into human trafficking in Europe, 60% come from Romania. We're surrounded by this evil, crazy business, and to get into the details, we can't do this in the church right now. Not today. I can't. It's so sad, and it's true. And I went out on the streets talking with an anti-human trafficking ministry. I talked with prostitutes. I was a translator. I showed up, I was in Vienna, and I went out with this ministry, and they said, how would you like to go out to the streets and talk to the girls with us? And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I went out there for 3 hours, 19 girls we talked to, 17 were from Romania, in Austria. There were more. The statistics was higher. Anyhow, we have to get to those people. You know, what is a laborer? A church member? No. It's a person who has the same heart for people that Jesus had, and who gives their life to fulfill his mission in this world to seek and save the lost. That scripture right there, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. He was talking about in the context of when Jesus looked on the multitudes, he saw them as broken and needing a shepherd. I think I just butchered that verse, but you know, it's that he was broken by the needs of the people, and yet he looked at his followers and he knew that they weren't ready. And he's saying, the job is huge. Wherever you go, the job is huge. The problem is not them. The problem is us. He can't mobilize us. We're unwilling to change and to grow. And we replace it with things, I'm sad to say, with other things that are good and important, but we're imbalanced in the church. With too much of lesser priorities, I said. Okay, intense love that touches all children. You know, some of my favorite, this is one of my favorite verses. This is where, you know, let the children come to me, for such is the kingdom of God. Well, why did Jesus say to this, to who was he talking to? Who was he talking to? He was talking to his followers. He was talking to the disciples who were trying to keep the children away from him. That's exactly who he was talking to, because it was a group who understood his heart. In verse 13, they brought children. Who? We don't know. Just a bunch of no face, no names. And that's who we need to be. And they brought those kids to Jesus, and it was disciples who said, tried to stop it. You want to be his disciple? Get an intense love for all children. Wherever you go, children should be on our radar screen, because we are the face, the hands, the heart, the feet of Jesus, and they need to see him and feel him in our lives. And so that's why I choose to work with children every day. Working with adults, we do leadership development, we do a lot of parenting classes and all that. It's all strategy for me, because I'd rather work with children anytime. I'm sorry, I have to say it. So, another boy changed my life. Hannah, our daughter, brought him, he's Coasty at age 5, brings him into our house. On that day, we gave him his very first peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I mean, as Americans, we're like born with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in our hands. You know, right from the hospital we have those things. And so he got his first, and on that day he got a bath for the first time. And Hannah brings him in, and I'm busy raising money for poor children at the computer. And I'm trying to raise money for kids like him, but I didn't have time for him. So I'm going to be really ugly with you right now about me. But I'm just one of you. But this is how we are. And that day, I'm typing at the computer, making project, raising money, blah, blah. Kosty's right there looking at me. He's about this tall at that point. And he smells like, you can't believe, never had a bath, 5 years old. So Hannah takes him in. She says, Daddy, can he take a bath? Yes, of course. Go in there, you do it. Okay, Daddy, when he's done, would you put some of your cologne? I mean, I have so much cologne, it's crazy. I'm kind of known for that. I mean, I bring it into the pulpit. Thank you for laughing. Do you travel? Are you in the group coming to, maybe talking?
Yeah.
Are you Kennedy?
I am.
Hi, Kennedy. I'm Brad. By the way. I have those books right there in the front, by the way. Okay, you're welcome. So, Daddy, can you put some cologne on Kosty? Well, Hannah, you can do this. You can take a... See, this is us in the church. Now somebody else do it. Oh, Owen needs to do it. Owen's family, let somebody else do it. I just want to sit here and listen and, go home. I'll be nice and not say what I normally say right there.
Why?
It's not Christianity. Thank you. You encouraged me. Sitting is not going. We need to receive. We need to grow. We need to be studying the Word. We need to be... The goal isn't to listen to the Word. The goal is not to teach the Word. The goal is to live the Word. Learn less, live more. That's what we do in Romania. That's the challenge. Apply more. Apply. Beginning of Acts, first verse. It was a story of all that Jesus began to do and teach. That's Christianity. Balance, do, and teach. We have to look at what we're doing. Anyhow, so I said, no cologne, not for me. You do it. And she said, oh, Daddy, it would really be meaningful. So I go to the back, and this is such a true story, and I'm so bad. I could cry about me in this moment because I was so ugly. And I went to my lineup of colognes, and there it is. Michael Jordan's my favorite. I love Michael Jordan. Put on his cologne, maybe I can jump like him. Maybe. It's my only hope. So it's like Vapors, and I picked it up, and it's like, oh my, not going to put that. It's my favorite cologne. Not going to put that on Cosi. Okay, go to the next one. It's a bottle this big, not even open. I'm thinking, well, I'm almost done with Michael Jordan. This is my second favorite. I'm going to be needing that. It's so big of a bottle. I mean, you need a diving board to get into it. I got a lot. So I go to the third one, then the fourth one. So then there's other one, and it's like $1 a gallon. Okay, and it was a gift that somebody gave me in Romania, and this is us. I didn't throw it away because I was afraid they were going to ask me if I kept it. So I took my gallon of cologne, went out, with the pump spray, and I put it on my hands. I had to wash my hands after I put it on, and I go to reach out to this face and to put my garbage cologne on this beautiful little boy, and as I go to do it, you're the beautiful little boy right now. Okay.
Thank you.
You can do it. Nice smile. And as I do that, it's like coming out of those eyes back at me. It's like there's something more in there. It was like the Lord himself was looking through me, through this kid, and he's looking up at me, and I'm about to put this ugly stuff on him, and it was the voice from the first voice. And it was this, as I'm looking at him, you're going to put your garbage cologne on my child? Whoa, where did that come from? Oh my goodness. And I ran to the back, and I got my Michael Jordan fumes in the bottle, and I brought it out. I washed my hands first so we wouldn't mix together, the old wine with the new wine there. And I put it on him with an ugly, repentant heart, like, oh my goodness. And so then we, went back that trip. You were there that day. We raised all the money. He needed some money to fix his mouth, and the Lord showed me that this kid's very important. So from that, Cosi lives in that house. That there are 8 kids. The father is not involved. Mother trying to raise 8 kids. This is as poor as poor could be. Abby knows. You've probably been to that house, haven't you? Maybe. And very, very poor, but in that area we built the Hope Center. We got a picture of it, little image aimed at that. That was our vision, and started to build, and all of a sudden there it was, and then all of a sudden it was filled with kids, and all that because probably $100,000 was raised just because of that little cologne incident that the Lord rebuked my heart. And so anyhow, boy number 2 dramatically impacted my life. And help me understand how much love, the Lord's intense love for children. Okay? We got to get this. After I'm done today, don't cross it off your list. Okay, nice message. Now let's go watch the Packer game. Oops! The Packers were moved to 7 o'clock tonight. What are we going to do this afternoon? Well, I don't know. But you can start thinking about who is it that the Lord is lonely and hurting. Who can I call? Who can I encourage? Lord, use me today to touch somebody's life. Start aiming and aim 1, 2, 3 after another. Don't underestimate how I can impact your life today. And the stories of these kids. Our mission objectives are very, very aggressive, very I don't know what the best word is. A church in every village. I mean, this is the rest of my life right here. You're looking at one slide. A community center in every church. Why? Because I believe every church is the center of the community. And so, we're a lighthouse in that neighborhood, that village, whatever. And so that's why I exist. I left a very nice life here in the United States, but I was very involved in ministry. But this is my life right here. And every member a missionary. The big problem is that so many people in the churches, they just see themselves as a church member. No. You are a missionary, and every missionary has a mission field. And so how will we plant a church in every village? Will we wait for Owen Cooper to move his family over there and just give the rest of he and his wife and their kids' lives to, and we're going to build on this? No. We got to do it from within. And so we must create in the mindset every member a missionary. And so we're doing crazy things like we're doing every other month evangelism meetings from village to village. If I had the map here, you could see it again. But so we mobilize, we're very serious about this, and so we're mobilizing Christians who want to come. We don't force you to come. We never talk to you again if you don't come, but no, I'm joking. Thank you for laughing at mine. Really? You're comparing me to your father? How old is he?
Pardon?
Never mind. 53, young guy. That's good. So anyhow, we mobilize people from location and regional evangelism. The last one we had about a month ago, 150 people showed up. Not the normal Christianity. Not seeing this very often. Showing up for street evangelism and going out and praying for healing and sharing in tracts and praying for the people in your group. How about that? You can do that. The average age, we had 200 the previous two times. Average age, 15 to 25 years old. This is not the old generation. Why? We've created a new normal in the minds of the younger people. We're very serious about this. Every member a disciple maker. Every member part of a church plant. Why this? Because I don't want people sitting in the chairs thinking that's enough. I want them with the thinking of Jesus. I want them with the thinking of Paul, that I may go to the regions beyond. Well, that's the apostolic thinking, because that's Jesus' thinking. Paul's just saying what Jesus did and told us to go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. And it's a big job, but we can do it. And the gospel for every Colorassian. This is a big one for this next year. This will radically revolutionize our lives. Now, this has been in our mission objectives for years, but I always felt like this was the big one we're moving towards, and the Lord just showed me clearly, no, it's now. You bring it in now. Change everything you're doing to accommodate this. Everything we're doing, if it doesn't touch and lead into this, maybe we need to dismantle it. Okay, we now have 12 churches, 6 church plants, 7 functioning community centers. What can happen when you change your no to a yes? This is my point. All of us. More centers to start in 2022, 2023. Like I said already, back up. 800 children in our weekly programs. Yeah, and that's not hype. So I've counted it. I've double checked. I've checked because I didn't want to be, hyping the numbers. So I know it's more than that. But this is the figure that really gets me. This looks good and it sounds good, but this is the really, really good one. 3 to 4 days per week we have this group. Because you have a lot of influence. We're like little mobile Christian schools that work with the public schools, which I like. Everything's about evangelism. Anyhow, but so then the next year, how do we, one by one, disciple these kids? And so I'm becoming much more personally involved in the quality of how we do things. Now, I want to get to boy number 1. This is a hard story to share. And this little boy, I can say this story impacted my life the most. And that's why it's hard to share. Normally I don't feel the emotions coming on so much, but You know, when I was 23, actually when I was 46. Here in the States, I was just another pastor who was pro-life in theory, but no practical application. And I had my excuses on why I didn't get involved in pro-life movement, and I was rightfully turned off by the militant end of the pro-life movement. But I was 46 when the Lord finally just showed me, why not you? What's your problem? Very nice, because it's important. And He very lovingly helped me to change. He helped me to repent. And so, because in Romania is one of the world leaders. Look at those numbers in abortion rate. That means, so up until, I say 50 to 75%, so it depends on where you're getting the statistic from. But at one point, Romania was 1 or 2 in the world. 3 out of every 4 pregnancies were ending in abortion. So where the babies were born is the same place they're doing abortion. So we're in the middle of this Holocaust of voiceless unborn babies being aborted, and 23 million, after 1959. So 48 million global abortions annually. This is more than the Jewish Holocaust. This is a incredible, crazy thing. This amount of babies, by the way, would form a line around the center of the world, 1/4 around the center of the earth. And all those babies were created with a purpose and have value, and they are loved. And we might be throwing away. I really believe that Satan is working overtime to exterminate the last days army that raises up. He's trying, just like he tried to do to Moses, just like he tried to do to Jesus. He's trying to exterminate the next move. And so that's what I believe that he's doing. And so the Lord helped me to understand that I personally needed to do this. I needed to open my mouth that was shut. I need to become a voice for the voiceless unborn, and because they're appointed to die. Open your mouth. In other words, your mouth is shut. Judge righteously. Plead. This is with emotion. This is with wisdom. This is with intensity, with love for the cause of the poor and the needy. And so when I was 23, this is a story I heard when I was 23 that really impacted me, but I shut my mouth for the next 23 years because it really hit me so hard. So why does a woman do an abortion? Why will she do that? So it's good for us, instead of throwing the law at her or to judge her or to say the Word of God to her, we need to understand, we need to love people like this. So this is how it works. There was a woman, a beautiful woman, and she fell in love with a guy. I heard this story when I was 23. And they were like magnets for one another, and she became pregnant very quickly. But she, in those days, they didn't want to use that against the guy to force the guy to marry her. But so she didn't say. She just said, "Would you marry me? I love you." He said yes. So they got married, and fast forward, they end up having a little boy. But the man is very, very dysfunctional, and he grew up in a house where both parents were alcoholics, and so now this man is an alcoholic. He's abusive. He's in and out of adulterous relationships, and he's just destroying his wife and his little boy. You're surrounded by this. You just walk down the street, and this is what's happening in the homes in Whitewater. It's there, and you might not know about it because maybe you're not looking for it. Ask the Lord to show you. So this woman, the man, they got separated. And then he came back in and out, and on one of the trips back when he was visiting, she got pregnant with a second child. He left her again. And then, in comes that voice. Hey, most women get an abortion because somebody else told them to get it. And a lot of times it's the mother. The woman's mother, a lot of times. The grandmother, believe it or not. So she said, I think you're right. I don't have money. I'm unhappy. I can't even take care of this little boy. I will abort this second baby. And so she makes the decision she's going to do it. In comes the Christian, new believer, cousin of this mother. And the cousin, new believer, didn't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So I know, I'll take you. Will you go with me to my mentors and talk with them? Because I don't know what to say to you. Yes, I will go with them. So this older Christian couple, about 60 years of age, talk to that woman and love her and encourage her and say, maybe your husband come back. Just take it. This baby's important, and the Lord created this baby inside of you, and you don't abort it. You can do this. She changes her mind, doesn't do the abortion, and then the husband came back. Things were going good. Baby's born. First was a boy. Second is a boy too, and so this answers the question I'm leading up to. Why am I involved in pro-life ministry? Why are we as an organization also doing that? Very, very energetic. We're in public schools, by the way. We teach pro-life principles in the public schools now, and we'll be adding an anti-human trafficking component to it. So then things are going along really good. But one day her husband had been traveling, and she shipped out the older boy, who is now about 3 years old, to her parents, and having just the little baby there. He's 6 months at that time, and it's her husband's birthday, but he's traveling. Comes home, and she has a surprise party for him that night, and she had big plans, and he comes in the front door, and she says, "I'm so happy that you're home, and my whole life is about you and the boys, and I'm just so thankful for you." And he says, "It's over. I'm divorcing you." He says, "I can't do it." He was in and out of relationships with other women. They were calling his wife, by the way, threatening that they were going to take him away from her. So she was really hurt and destroyed inside, but she was hopeful, and she wanted to make it work. She was willing to do anything to make it work. But when he asked for a divorce, or said he was going to do that, she said, "But if you do," he went up and he started packing his bag, and she begged him, and she said, "But if you go, I'm going to take my life." And this is a true story. But this is the inside of what some mothers are going through, just dying because of lack of encouragement and because what's being done to them in the family. And so she took a bottle of sleeping pills and started to swallow it. He hid it out of her hand, thought he got it all, but he left. And then that night he came back for some more clothes, and he found her laying on the floor in a coma with the second little baby, screaming like crazy. And he called the ambulance, and she died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. And so when I heard the story that was told to me when I was 23, it just so rattled me deep inside, and I just shut my mouth. I didn't want to talk to anybody about it for a long time, until that day when the Lord showed me that, Brad, I want you to start sharing that story. And so I did at age 46, and we started, our pro-life ministry. But it's driven by love, not the law. And it's driven by compassion, and it's driven by helping women and helping babies. And I'm just so thankful, because a lot of the kids in the 800, they were appointed to die. But because of our pro-life teaching, sometimes I'm just introduced to the kid. He's 5 years old. "Hey, do you know who this child is?" "Yeah, he's your son." "Yeah, I know, but do you know that we were going to abort him?" It's normal in Romania. It's normal thinking. It's in their culture. It's embedded in their culture. And so that was the woman, very pretty. She was who died. She committed suicide, and she was actually a model in Hollywood for a short time. But she just wanted to be happy, wanted to love her husband, take care of her boys, But when she realized that she couldn't have that, she snapped, of course. That was the second boy who many years later would meet Jesus and get married and start having children. And then at a certain point, he was invited to go to Romania on a mission trip in 1996. So that's the guy. I'm the second baby, if you didn't understand that yet. So that's my story. And so when the older Christians talked my mother out of aborting me, the Lord used them to keep me in this world, because they couldn't know it at the time. But what they were essentially, they were the voice of God to my mother, to keep me in this world, because the Lord had created me for a purpose, and it was a big thing that would impact many lives, especially children. And so that's one of the reasons why you can imagine for 23, when I first heard that when I was 23, I was never told until I was 23. I actually found out on accident. And when I looked into it and finally nailed it down with my father told me the whole thing. And with my mother's side, I never met anybody from my mother's side of the family until I was 23. And that finding out the truth about my mother and all that actually led me to becoming a Christian within about a month and a half, after going through a very, 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 very low time, very deep depression. On Christmas Day, 1982, I received Jesus as Lord and Savior. I had been well evangelized in college by some good brothers there. So I didn't need somebody else to tell me what I needed to do. I just needed to do it. And so I did. I received the Lord. Yes, Jesus was born on December 25th. Yes, in my heart. Best Christmas present I've ever received, And so we were called. I was called to be a missionary. We were called to do missions. This is our family photo now. We have 5 children. We have 10 grandchildren now. That's my daughter, our daughter Rebecca, who married a Rel. And so these are my Romanian. They're half American, half Romanian. I don't talk about the American half. I just brag about the Romanian part. I don't know why, but I just love it. So, we do these big children's events, and I said this already, but we did our biggest event ever on September 9th, where I believe the Lord showed me to get as many of the 800 together as we could on one day. So we were able to get 550 children together for one event with about 150 adults. It doesn't look like 700 in that photo because we're so jammed together. Americans couldn't do this. They could not do it. But the Romanians and Gypsies can do it because they love one another's space. And all of us, we need a chair for our backpack and chairs in between. But anyhow, but what was really cool is that all the ministry that day, the preaching, the teaching, the altar call, the prayer, the worship, it was all kids between the ages of 8 and 15. And so we had kids ministering to kids because I want to introduce them. They're not the future, they're the now. Children. 95% of all the people being born again in the world right now, 95% are ages 4 to 11. And while we're preoccupied with so much in the church, we're losing the children and the future. Satan's pretty smart. He's going after them right in the kindergarten. So that's my story. We do pro-life conferences with churches, lots of evangelism, creative events. Most of these women are not believers, but we did a pro-life conference for non-Christian women. And we talked about Jesus. We shared the gospel. We blessed them. We gave flowers to all them. We do anything we can to touch their lives. Never underestimate how you can impact the life of somebody else. But remember, if you don't go, you lose, because also your life needs to be impacted by somebody else. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for leading worship today. I love your guitar. Is that a Taylor? I thought so. It sounded so good. So Owen, thank you for letting me speak today. I'm sure I spoke for an hour and a half. I have no clue how long I spoke for. But again, thank you. I'm glad. He said, I said, how long do you want me to go? He says, well, normally we go 20 to 30 minutes. And I thought, I've got 20 to 30 minutes worth of yawns. I'm so excited in the middle of my message. But remember what I said. Listen, here's the challenge. This is the time. The church, and it's not here anymore, really, really. The church is out there. The Lord is positioning you as Christians out into the community, okay? See yourself as missionaries out there. Bring them in that His house would be filled. But we need to see the impact that we can have out there. That's the key. That's the harvest field. It's out there. They're not coming in here. They're not going to wait for you to bring them in necessarily. You got to go. Jesus didn't wait for us to go to heaven. He humbled Himself and He came down here and He identified with us in our lives so that He could bring us to heaven with Him. It's the same model. We must go. We must go to people. And the Lord can use us. You know more than you need to know. But we just need to say yes. And say, here I am, Lord, lead me. Do whatever you want. Amen?
Amen.